Hi, y'all. How are you doing this afternoon? Good to see you. Some of you I may have seen twice today. Who knows? Today we're going to play a little bit with how to create templates for free motion quilting. It's not a hard process. You do have to have an image or something to work with. So I've kind of cheated and made stippling in my PE design program and took that over to BES and printed it out. So we're just going to kind of have fun a little bit. So I've got it printed out there. This is probably going to be a very short live. It is about 100 degrees outside, which means my room is very, very warm up here today. So good afternoon. Glad you could visit us. If you haven't been here before, tell everybody where you're from. And you never know, somebody may be computing next to you. But today we're going to do CanvasWorkspace and the ScanNCut to create free motion templates. Okay. And then I'm going to show a brief example on why you might use the feed stitch in PE design, because that was the other question that came through. It's up here in this room, and so it's a little warm, especially with lights on. So let's get started. I'm going to flip over to my other camera. Hopefully you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up. Oh, wrong. Well, that's fine. It's on the wrong screen, but we're good. So let's come over here and look at our ScanNCut machine. Let me turn this guy on. And actually, I'm going to flip over here first and show you what I've got started. And y'all, if you watched earlier, you know I was on earlier today. So I have a few little extras still out. So I've got two options here to show you. Here's one of my stipplings, and here's the other. So you can notice that I have a heavier pin weight on this one than I do on this one. That option is up to you. You can go either way, okay? They both will do the same type thing, but this one you may get more of what you want right out of the gate. So, but let's start with this one so I can show you the differences between the two in case you don't have the ability of increasing your pin width, okay? Or you don't have a thick pin that you're drawing with. So this was for, I do believe it was Edna that wanted this one answered. So let me flip, oops. And I've just loaded my mat in. And so today we're going to actually scan to transfer to CanvasWorkspace. But we're going to do a scan to cut data, and then we're going to transfer that data over. So let's look at what we've got. Let me back up the screen. We're going to go scan, and we're going to do scan to cut data. And I am in grayscale. You want to be probably in grayscale for this activity. Let's go ahead and press start. And let's see here what we've got going. So it's going to take a picture of what's down here on my map. I'm using the scan mat. You will find you will have better results if you use your scan mat. It has to do with the way it detects all of the cut lines that are on your other mats. So you're going to have to give me just a second because I can't read your comments while I'm over here. But I want to show you what happens. So for this one, we want it actually to show us both the insides and the outsides, or the outsides only. Let's do both and see what happens. So we're going to go first with this one, touch OK. Actually, let's crop it in and touch OK. So this is just going to give me that running line design, which is perfect if you want to draw your stippling with your ScanNCut machine directly onto fabric. I mean, if you don't have something already quilted, this is perfect for that activity. But if you have something quilted, you may want to do what I'm about to show you how to do. So let's go ahead and touch OK on that one. And we're going to say save was successful. So let's come back over to our Canvas workspace. I saved it to Canvas workspace. So let me come back over here, and I need to share my screen and add it to the stream. And hold on a second. Actually, we'll just leave that up. Y'all don't need to see me for right now. Okay, so we're in Canvas workspace. Now we need to go see here. Let's come up and go up to our file, and we're going to import it from our cutting machine. So right there, and we want to import an FCM file because we scanned to cut data. All right, man. My internet has been being ugly lately. It did say it's saved, but let me double check it. I'll do it one more time. Let's try it one more time. Import from my cutting machine, FCM file. Okay, guys, give me just a second. Let me flip back over here and talk to you for a second while I sit here and try to troubleshoot. I don't know what's going on, but we may as no. CanvasWorkspace is a free program that goes with a ScanNCut machine. So it is to quilt a single block. So this is for free motion, Lois. This is not for quilting in the hoop. This is for free motion. You would take it block by block, and you could do whatever you want to with it. But let's see if I can't get, I've got to see if I can troubleshoot this right here. All right, I'm just going to close my program and restart it. Maybe it will play nice with me now. Comcast and me have been having a battle the last couple of weeks. Actually, not a couple of weeks, just since Saturday. Import FCM. Account settings, refresh. Well, my activity may not, there we go. So I've got it up here, so I'm going to show you how I did it again, but evidently I had to go in and trick it to thinking I had done something. So we're going to FCM file. You'll notice I have 2 of them now, maybe. There we go. Yes. So it did work. So I'm going to do it one more time so you can see. I'm going to leave this one down here so we don't lose it. File, import from my cutting machine, FCM file. There we go. So there's my stippling. And if I were just planning on drawing it on something, that's perfectly fine. But we actually want a quilt. So let's go into our properties and let's change from, let's go to our artboard and change to inches. So this is one of those times that I actually do use inches just to see what size I'm in. And I'm at 3.71 by 3.71, which is perfect if you're planning on doing a 4x4 quilting, 4x4 hoop. Not hoop, 4x4 quilting space. So let me kind of explain why why I say that's perfect. So if you have a 4x4 square, you want to actually kind of make sure that your stippling is contained within that square. So you would typically make it slightly smaller than your 4x4 area. So I'll put a box around this that's 4x4 inches, but I want my stippling to be slightly smaller. So now let's go see what we've got. In order to make this to where it doesn't fall apart, in order to make it cut to where we could trace in it, we want to make offsets. So let's come down here. And first of all, I need to go back I want to be back in metric on this one because I'm a metric kind of girl on this part. I know how big that's what it's going to do. And we're going to choose offsets. And this will create an offset around it. We want it to go outward. And I want my offset spacing to be about 3 millimeters. If I left it at 5, it would just go around the outside edge. So we're going to take it down to 3 millimeters. And I could have just typed that in, but I didn't. So evidently it doesn't like that one. So you can see how it's just right snug up against it. So let's do this. Let's make this a little bit bigger. I didn't leave enough space. Offsets, 3 millimeters, and click OK. So we're close, but let's go down to 2 millimeters. I'm going to highlight it and type in 2, click OK. And so there we go. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. Now, what's the other trick on this? Well, you're going to bring yourself in a rectangle and you're going to make it small. If we cut it out like this, it's just going to cut the whole thing out and you're going to it's going to fall apart. So you need to make little spots in it. If you think about a template that you go purchase, it has a little spot that does not get cut. So we're going to make ourselves some spots that don't get cut. So here we go. We're going to copy that. So Control C, Control V. And I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it like about right there. And I'm going to go Control C, Control V again, copy and paste. Copy is Control C, paste is Control V. Copy and paste. You could also, you could also right mouse click and copy and paste. It doesn't matter. The whole thing is that you want to have the same size one. Just makes life a little easier. And you're just kind of randomly spacing these around. Otherwise, you will have one just big old cutout that will fall apart. So there we go. Now we've got our little copy and paste items there. And so that it leaves the space that we want, we're going to grab everything. So just draw around everything that's there. And then we want to remove the overlap. So on your edit menu, down here where it says process overlap, we want to remove that Ooh, it didn't like me there. So let me see. Hold on. Oh, I've got a couple of dots touching here. So hold on. We actually have a little bit of an overlap. So let's come and tap this line right here. To where they're not overlapping. Maybe this will work for us. Where was my other one? Right there. Okay. Now let's try it. Oh, nope. That one may be touching still, but we'll see. Well, you little snot. I got a stinker doodle. Okay. Well, let's do this a little differently. Let me try one last thing. I did this right before we started, and wouldn't you know, it worked for that one, and it's not working for me now. So let me divide instead. Undo. Now let's see. There we go. Isn't that weird? Okay, so it is not just y'all. Today it's me. So I'm going to cut that and I'm going to paste it back down. And now let's try it. The divide worked for the other part. So let's see here. Let me show you what I ended up doing. Let's back up to where I divided that. So when I evidently took this and hit divide, it took care of my issue of things overlapping, but it gave me an extra row. So I'm going to delete that. And this one evidently is now 2 parts. So let's see here, 3 parts. There we go. So you just come in and get rid of your little tidbits. The divide worked better than the remove overlaps for this particular one. Don't ask me why today. Sometimes life doesn't make sense. Okay, so now we want to have a square around it. This is going to be your finished size. So whatever you want your finished size block to be first, before that, let's group this whole thing together. Make sure that it's grouped. So right mouse click and let's group. It doesn't need to be because it's evidently all together. It is. So we're going to take this and we're going to move it and we're going to make it, what size do we want it to be? Let's go to our artboard and change it to inches. And no, go back to edit and let's say we want this to be 4 inches. So our square is 4 inches. We know it's 4 inches. So now we can take this and make it like 3.75. Now you should be able to align them both. And there you have your 4-inch template. So let's come and align them. Center, center, and group it. So there's your first one. And you can play and do this in any size. So you can actually turn that template into any size one that you want. And yes, sometimes when I have things that come up that I don't expect, it's good for me to problem solve for you all to see what happened. So this is that same style item in a 6-inch block. Okay, so this is what I've cut, and you can see those little tabs. See that little tab right there? That's that space that I left. That's what I did the divide to get rid of. Okay, so that one is how you get that to work. And let's say you can make it any size you want. So we've grouped it. If you want to make it a 7-inch, an 8-inch block, come up here to where it says do 8. And it will make, that is now an 8-inch block of stippling for you. And you would just simply trace in those areas. So let's now go back and look and see what happens if we choose the other option. Okay, with that same style line. Let's go back over to the ScanNCut and do it with the same style line, the thin one, with the other way of doing it. Okay. So I've got that same line in here, and we don't have to change anything except this right here. We want to choose insides and outsides this time. So it's going to look at both sides of that line and make a line on each side of it. So let's go ahead and touch OK. And let's see if it's going to play nice with me again. We're going to transfer it back to our Canvas workspace. And if that doesn't work this time, I may come and grab a USB stick. But for now, we're going to go with that. And let's come back over to our Canvas workspace. I'm gonna shrink this guy way down here and move him out of the way. So let's come up here and we're going to go import from my cutting machine FCM file. Okay, it doesn't like me again. So let's go up to help, account settings, machine registration, close, it says it's there, file, import from my cutting machine. So this is how I got in there the last time. But you'll notice this time it has looked at both the inside and the outside of that. But that line is a little thin for you to be able to pounce or draw on. But it did do it for you, okay? So that is, instead of you having to create the offset, it automatically did that for you, which is pretty cool, okay? Now you can come in and just take your rectangle again, shrink it in, and make it a little smaller. So once again, you would do the same exact thing this time. Let's copy that and paste it and rotate it, plop it right there. There's really no rhyme or reason to what I'm doing. I'm just sticking it where I think it needs there's a good spot to stick it. Because it looks like it had a break there anyway, so that would give it a complete break. And take this one and move it right here. Okay, so now let's see what happens this time if we try remove overlaps. I'm going to grab everything and we're going to do remove overlaps. Okay, oh, I've got an open path, so it's not going to let me do that. Once again, let's divide. It won't let me do it again because I've got an open path. Huh. That's what those little lines there where I had 2 spaces, that's the problem. So I can't actually remove my overlaps, okay? That is why the thin line is probably not your best friend. So let's go the thick line route over at the ScanNCut machine. Let me come back over and put this other screen back on. Okay, so this is I'm going to do my thicker one. I'm just going to slide it and replace it up underneath my map. So it's just got a little, uh-oh. Well, evidently it's not going to let me show you that. Oh, great. Technology, you gotta love it. Turn that off. Okay, there we go. It faded to black on me. So I've just simply replaced this one under my acetate right there with that one. And now let's go ahead and touch home and touch the scanner. So let's go back in and say scan, and we're going to ScanNCut data again. And we're going to say start. We're going to use that same option of insides and outsides this time, but you're going to notice that this thicker line is actually going to work better because it's not going to create the broken lines. And how do I know this? Because I did do this particular one right before we started, thinking that it would work better to do it this method if I was trying to do it directly off the ScanNCut machine. So here we go. And we're going to choose the insides and the outsides. Crop it in. Just go ahead and touch preview. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get your trash out of the way. Go ahead and touch OK. And we're going to transfer it. We're going to pray that it works. So give me just a second. So here we go. We're going to come back up here and go File, Import from my cutting machine. Oh, looky there. And so you'll notice this one, whoops, has both the parts. It's got the inside and the outside. We're not going to have to do an offset because it actually made it thick enough for us. I'm going to go ahead and see what happens if I say divide to see if that helps us a little bit. And it does. So what that divide did for me was make it 1 unit. Okay. So now come in here and grab your rectangle. This is your easiest method. So if you have a thicker line, if you draw with a thicker marker, or if you print it out thicker, you'll be able to do this a little easier. Let me smush that in a little bit. And copy it and paste it. Oops. Got to get that handle where it's going to let you grab the whole thing. Rotate it and put it into position. Control C, Control V. And I think that's probably good. So now let's grab them all. And this time our remove overlaps should work. Hit remove overlaps. There we go. Perfect. Now get rid of your rectangles that are hanging out there. Just click them and press delete on the keyboard. Once again, add your square around the outside edge. Make it to whatever size you want it to be, final size. So that says 3.94. Let's say we want 4 inches. And align them both ways. Then group it. So this is the one I'm going to take and cut. Yes, I can do the divide again. I'll bring the whole kit and caboodle back one more time for you. Import from my cutting machine FCM file. And so notice that they are 2 separate parts right now. Okay. When I select it all and I press that little divide button, it actually unifies them kind of. So now you'll notice that there's 1 extra. And there we go. So instead of having 2, we have 3 parts. We'll get, oops, got rid of the wrong one. We'll get rid of this one. So let me undo and undo and undo to get back to where I was. There we go. Did I group this yet? I must have. Yeah, I have. Okay, so let's leave this at 4 inches, and I am going to file and transfer this to my cutting machine. Export, transfer, FCM. Oh, and you know what? Looky down here. Remember, I left that one hanging out. So let's make this one 4 inches too, just so you can see the difference between the 2 of them. So they're basically about the same. right? This one is a little tighter. Maybe I loosey-goosey this one up a little bit more. But that 2 millimeters is basically about the same as what was put around the double lines. So let's file, export, transfer, FCM. And we're going to transfer it via the internet, and we're going to say, okay. Okay, I'm going to come over here and answer some questions. Yes, you need the box. Okay, Terry, the reason you need the box is because if you don't, all you're going to have is little things. So you're using one big piece of Quilter's template plastic, and that box will hold it as one unit. Okay, otherwise you're just going to have the sides. So you really do want the box unless you cut your template piece down. This actually helps you line things up and put it in your square. So, all right, let's go here. Now I can't change the size for the double line spacing. It is what it is. Whatever it reads as the inside and the outside is that. And yes, we just created our own stenciling, and it is pretty cool that you can do that. By the way, I mean, this is a great way to learn free motion. And Lois, yes, you can pounce, or you can use chalk, or you can use disappearing ink to transfer it down onto your fabric to be able to do the free motion yourself. Okay. If you watched me do Sewing Machines Plus Quilt Fest about free motioning with the Persona, that is how I did it. That's how I transferred my stuff to my fabric. Some of the fabric I actually drew my stencils on, some from directly on the ScanNCut machine, because I knew I was just doing fabric, and that's a great way to practice your free motion skills. All right, so let's go over to the ScanNCut, and we will put a piece of template plastic down, and we will cut. Okay. Let me see here, see if I can navigate a camera too. So we're going to take out our mat here. And we're going to use a standard cutting mat. Standard or a low tack will work for this one. I have a standard, and this is my Quilter's template plastic. It's a pretty thin plastic, but it works beautifully for this, and we're just going to line it up to where it's sitting on there. And now we're ready to throw that on the machine. And I'm not worried that I have excess down here, because it's not going to suck up my whole thing. It's not curled up. We should be good to go. Okay. I got my Quilter's plastic at a fabric store. All right. Oh, I need to switch blades. So let me find my universal blade here, my black auto blade. I don't want to use my fabric blade for this. And let's load our mat into the machine. All right. So let's go home, touch OK, and let's touch retrieve data. From CanvasWorkspace, let's play it like this. There we go. Now we should be able to move this all as a unit, and we can. I'm just going to put it up here in this corner, touch OK, tell it I want it to cut, and press. This is probably one that it wouldn't hurt to do a test cut. Make sure half cut is off, but I'm going to live on the wild side. I have not cut this today, so we are living on the wild side. I've not done a test cut. And it's going to take us 2 minutes for it to cut. And the beauty of it is it can be used over and over again. If you don't have template plastic, you could use heavy cardstock. There are other options that you could use for this activity. But the template plastic is my favorite. So y'all want to see it cutting? It is so nice and quiet. You could do this with any of the ScanNCuts that have the wireless option in them, because they all do the same scanning function. The DX just happens to make it very easy. You'd have to figure out your depth for the other machines. And it is about done here. And you could always scan it to USB if you don't have it set up for wireless. We're just about. Oh, it must think it needs it to do it twice, which is kind of weird, but because it updated its time to finish cutting. Yep, it's going to cut me twice. It looks like. Oh, there we go. Okay, so, oh, it is going to cut twice. It determined it did not have enough blade depth to do it all at one time. So that is, and the machine knows what it needs to do when it's cutting things that are thicker, which is always a beautiful thing. You don't have to think about it. Even though this is kind of a dense material, so that's probably why it decided it needed to go further. I could have probably increased our pressure and not had it cut twice, but it won't hurt to have it cut twice. About done. While it's doing that, I'll come over here and see. Coco, I do have a favorite disappearing ink. I use friction pens. Those are my favorites. And I'll pick, because they come in so many different colors. And these are I'll either use this or I use a chalk pencil. So this is my little friction pen. And the reason I like it is because it closes right up. All right, we should be done. Let's unload our mat. There's our template plastic. Y'all want to see this come off? Let's go over here. Let me grab my spatula. It may make this easier for me. I cleaned my mat right before I did this. Normally I don't. So it's good and stuck. There we go. So there is our little quilting template. Let me put it on a piece of fabric so you can see. See how that works? And then you can just take your pen and trace right in there. And you're ready to go. All right, let me take these off so they don't get stuck like Chuck. I keep thinking there's something I could do with these little curly cues. They're kind of fun. If y'all think of something, tell me. Okay. And Patty, I use the friction pens, not the markers. Those are the ones that I tend to use. But yeah, you can use your ScanNCut for things that you don't even think about. And this is one of those that I would tell you that's kind of fun to do. And I bought this. I mean, it's a big box store. I bought it at Joann's. Normally, that's just where I found it. You could probably find it on Amazon as well. And some dealers may carry it. You never know what you're going to find at a dealer. I check my dealer first. And the reason I say this is because we want them to stay in business so that we have places to go to get the toys that we want. All right. So the other question that came in was about feed stitches in PE design. So let me come and go up to the file. Actually, let's just close this down. And let me come over here. P design, where are you? Okay. Y'all are about to. All right, here we go. Okay, so let's go to our home tab, and I'm going to bring in a piece of artwork just because. Let's see here from file. What have I got in here? It's going to take it a minute to think. Okay. So when you're using your manual punch tools, I'm not going to get deep into the woods on this one, guys. You have the feed stitch, which is a jump stitch. You have a running stitch, which travels from one place to the other without creating a cut. And then you've got your two block punch tools, a curved block and a regular block. If you're wanting to create a jump after a specific area, that is when you use the feed stitch, okay? So let's say I come in here and well, let me switch to my curve tool. And I come in and I click from side to side. This is what I call my military tool because you're marching from side to side. And I'm going to fade out my template for you so you can see a little bit better. You go to the left side and the right side, and you have to remember which side you went to first. So be sure that when you're doing this, you always go to the opposite side each time you click. Otherwise, you get something that looks really very bizarre. So when I click to my opposite side now, if I wanted it to actually run to the next section instead of trimming, I would have it do a run stitch across. So I would have switched to my running tool. If you want it to trim, and this is, you think is less than 5 millimeters, change it to the feed tool. That will automatically make it choose the jump stitch. So then it would trim for you. And then you can finish up the rest of your area just by clicking on the opposite side. But that is what that little tool is used for. It's to force a trim, basically. Now, having said that, if your space is less than 5 millimeters, is 5 millimeters or greater, unless you change the setting on your machine, it will generally automatically trim for you on that distance if you double click. And if you didn't choose the feed stitch. If you choose the running stitch, it will not trim automatically. But if you just double click and finish that first area instead of going to the second area with a feed stitch, if that area is 5 millimeters or greater, and your machine is set up to trim, it will trim at 5 millimeters or greater unless you change that default setting. The default setting you can adjust. It can go up to 20 millimeters, I think, maybe more. That's on your machine. It's in your jump stitch trimming area. And you can adjust how short you want it, how short of a distance. But 5 millimeters is as low as it goes. So if anything is closer than 5 millimeters, it will automatically, it won't trim if it's closer than 5 millimeters. Anything 5 millimeters above, if you've got your jump stitch trimming on, it will trim. Okay. So, yes, please like my video. Please like my Facebook page. All of those wonderful things. And if you guys are going to be in Oklahoma City this weekend, you shall see me. I will be at the Rusty Barn Show in Oklahoma City in the Stitching Post booth. It took me a minute to think of Robin's business name. In the Stitching Post booth, I will be teaching classes on advanced design quilt software and quilting with your ScanNCut machine. So if you are going to be out and about, come by and say hi. You just got a quilt frame. Oh, yes. That 1500 sews like butter. It absolutely, you're going to love that machine. It is one that I bought many, many years ago, and it's a great little mechanical machine, and it does sew like butter. Be sure and like my Facebook page, like the YouTube page. Y'all know I'm terrible about posting that stuff. It's not, I'm just bad about it. What can I say? It's not my I'm not real good at self-promotion. All right, having said that, I will go ahead and put in, just keep in mind, I leave tomorrow, so I will not be here to mail anything off until Monday. Coupon code for Lettering So Easy is LET4. I will make that active after I get off here today. And for your version 10 workbook, DIG10. Okay. So those will be active after we get off today. So just keep that in mind. And Becky, if you want more videos for the ScanNCut, you should go back and watch today's Facebook Live on the ScanNCut. For Brother today. I did a project for Brother on that this morning, and a lot of us do. I do a lot of projects with the ScanNCut on Brother Sew's Facebook Live. I usually try to combine that with sewing. And Heather and I in the Education Connection, if you are not part of that group, it is the Education Connection. Let me find it here. Where did it go? It is our Facebook page. It's called The Education Connection. Now, you must agree to the terms and you must answer the questions. If you do that, you will be automatically entered into that group. If you don't do one of those, you're going to get a rejection letter. Everything has to be done. If you don't do one or both, you're going to get a rejection. And we're going to tell you failed to do something. But you save us a whole lot of time if you just answer the questions and agree to play nice in the sandbox from the get-go. So, Lori, I'm glad you enjoyed the show this morning. I thought that was a fun one. It was a quick and easy project. It had to be quick and easy. I didn't have time to create something complicated. So anybody can do it. You don't have to have an embroidery machine. You don't even have to sew it if you don't want to. You can just get it going. So I'm looking forward to that as well. I'm looking forward to nailing down the details on what we're planning on doing. So that should be a lot of fun for all of us. All right, guys. What is too fast? Oh, Patty, you're 1,500. Yeah, you do have to remember to lower you can't have a heavy gas foot. But it does really nice. Yes, Heather and I are going to try to do a live in July, and it will probably have something to do with a ScanNCut and a sewing machine, as you know, because we both love both of those activities. So we'll see. We haven't decided what we're going to do. Let me look at my calendar and see what date we have planned. Right now, we do have it down for the 5th, but don't quote me on that one. Okay, Heather and I have to get together. She's taping this week. I taped 2 weeks ago. And then next week is for any pickups of any problems that we had that they find in the editing of our videos. So don't quote me on that, but we're trying for the first Tuesday of every month is what we're trying for. And we just couldn't do it this month because I was gone the first Tuesday. So you all have a great rest of the day. I'm glad you enjoyed that show today with Angela. It was, like I said, that was a fun little project, and you can have one made in less than an hour, truly, from beginning to end, and use scraps. It is a true scrap buster. You don't have to have a whole lot of fabric to get it done. And you can always use Velcro if you don't want to do buttons. So, all right, y'all. You have a great rest of the day, and I will see you. What is next Tuesday? Hopefully, I'll see you next Tuesday. I won't swear to that. If I have to go tape in Bartlett, then no. But I think my group did pretty good. I think we're pretty much done. But they haven't gotten back to us after the editing. So, all right. See you next time. Bye-bye.